Morning, everyone. Today we are getting into a more important, or perhaps the most important part of the exploration. So we will do a slightly longer prayer. We're including the prayer to Patanjali, and then we're going to chant a few sutras from the second chapter. Gauri and I will chant this. Okay? So take this time to allow your mind to completely settle down in your body. Just pull all the directions in which the mind has gone. Just become aware of it and pull it back. Pull your energy back into yourself. Just be and listen. Try to listen with your whole being. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma dveṣa. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram Shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha.
Atha sadhana padaha
Tapaha Swadhyaya ईश्वर प्रणिधानानि क्रिया योगः
समाधि भावनार्थः क्लेश तनुकरणार्थश्च
अविद्या अस्मिता राग द्वेष अभिनिवेशाः क्लेशाः
अविद्या क्षेत्रम् उत्तरेषां प्रसुप्त तनु विच्छिन्न उदाराणाम्
अनित्य अशुचि दुःख अनात्मसु नित्य सुचि सुख आत्मख्यातिः अविद्या
दर्शन शक्त्योः एकात्मता इव अस्मिता
दुःखानुशयी रागः
दुःखानुशयी द्वेषः
भरसवाही विदुषोऽपि समारूढः अभिनिवेशः
ते प्रतिप्रसवहेयाः सूक्ष्माः
ध्यानहेयाः तद्वृत्तयः
क्लेशमूलः कर्माशयो दृष्टादृष्टजन्म वेदनीयः
ततिमूले तद्विपाको जात्यायुर्भोगाः
ते ह्लादपरितापफलाः पुण्यापुण्यहेतुत्वात्
हरिनामताप संस्कार दुःखैः गुणवृत्तिविरोधाच्च दुःखमेव सर्वं विवेकिनः
ज्ञेयं दुःखमनागतम्. Thank you. Over to you, Gauri.
I'm going to share with you what I have brought with me from last week's session and what I understood. We learned about practice, about mindfulness, and how asana is yoga. Most of us, many of us, struggle with two basic issues. One is to actually practice every day, and the other is what to do, because there's just so much out there. There's just so many teachers out there. So what I learned is the one thing that matters above everything else is to be consistent, to commit to doing something every single day. And what helps us in that process is mindfulness. I personally loved that definition that Thich Nhat Hanh gives of mindfulness. He says it is the energy of being aware and awake in the present moment. So it's not a technique, it's not a gimmick, it's not a trick, it's not a method. It is just to be here, present, all of myself, with myself, in this moment, including every aspect of all that I'm feeling, both within me and outside of me. Every thought, every feeling, every impulse, whatever is there, to see it, to acknowledge it, to accept it, and to embrace it now. The other side of mindfulness is stress, which is a meaning-making process where we use the past, an experience, a memory, or the future, an expectation, a desire, as the guide. And what happens when we do either one of these things is that we go into a fight, flight, or freeze mode, which the yogis call dukkham, which is experiencing a constriction, in my heart space. We think of dukkham as something big, life-altering, something shattering, but actually, on a constant basis, we experience this. A tightness in our heart or the stomach when we are running late, or if the gas doesn't come, or if we're not packing our breakfast on time. All of these are also dukkham. We just don't sometimes land up acknowledging it. The past is done. We can't change it. The present is the fruit of the past. But what about the future? We can help prevent dukkham in the future by how we choose to be now. And like we just chanted, Yoga Sutra from chapter 2, 16th verse says, Heyam dukkham anagatam, which is avoid the dukkha that is yet to be born. There are three kinds of dukkham, as Sankhya defines it. One is that we cause. One is that is caused by circumstances and people around us. And the third is we're not even able to attribute where it's coming from. If we are able to bring within us and understand that this constriction we feel is within us, regardless of where it's coming from, we can begin to do two things. One is to resolve it, and maybe we may be fortunate enough to be able to help somebody else also. When we are mindful, we acknowledge and we accept everything. We find that harmony within ourselves and outside also. Mindfulness does not say that you'll always be happy, you'll always be joyful. What it's saying is that when you accept the reality of this moment, your mind stops fighting. It is able to become peaceful and calm down. It is able to quieten. At that point, we are able to face the dukkham without getting entangled in it, without getting caught up, without going into some kind of a spiral of suffering. The thing that Saras also said was that the first step is our body. We are born with it, we live with it, we die with it. But do we actually pay it any attention? Do we really listen to it? Asana is yoga in action. To be deeply present with a quiet mind so that we can see our body, listen to it, examine it, understand it, and release any toxins that we are carrying in it. Our bodies are constantly changing. Can we listen? Can we mediate where we can? Can we retard? And finally, can we accept all of this, doing every one of these things without a judgment on our body or on ourselves? This is yoga. Please close your eyes and take a few breaths and reflect on what you have carried through your practice and life this past week from this session. Please take 1 or 2 minutes and then type into the chat box a word or a phrase or a sentence and share with us what has touched you and what has stayed with you through this week. I'm going to read out what everybody has shared in the chat box. Please do add whatever you feel. Calmness, non-judgment, the ability to tune into the sounds of nature. Yoga provides a route to non-suffering. Calmness, the ability to sense what is happening in the body. Finding myself self-reflecting more. A deepened observation. After understanding that being present, maximum tried to be in the present moment. Movement. Being aware of what is rising within and around me. We are going to have a short practice now. May I request you to get your mats and anything that may make your practice deeper and make you be able to be more with your body in this. Ahalya says the fight within her is reduced. In this morning's practice, Shipra is spotlighted. She will demonstrate for you what you are going to be doing. I will talk her through it. Please observe her. And I will talk you through the first repetition. Please do each asana 3 times. Shipra will begin standing with your feet a little apart, comfortably, arms by the side, body relaxed. As she inhales, raising her arms from the side, focusing, she will bring her arms above so that her fingertips meet. Please don't repeat, please just watch her this time, and then you can repeat the next time. Pause over here. As you exhale, bring your arms down from the side, back to the sides of your body. Your focus through this practice will be on your fingertips. You will repeat this now 3 times. Please stand comfortably, making sure that your feet are firmly on the ground, that your shoulders are relaxed, your neck is relaxed, your arms are by the side. As you inhale, please take your arms from the sides up until your fingertips meet overhead. Please remember to keep your focus on your fingertips. Pause here for 2 seconds. As you exhale, release your fingertips and bring your arms down from the side. Pause when you are finished exhaling for a couple of seconds and repeat this posture 2 more times. Please observe Shipra for this next variation, which she will be showing you. Please remember to pause after your inhale and your exhale and keep your focus on your big toe. As you inhale, you will lift your arms from the sides, lifting your heels off the floor simultaneously, interlocking your fingers overhead and turning your palm up. Pause. As you exhale, release your palms and bring your heels down simultaneously as you bring your arms down by your side. Pause. Please remember, focus on the big toe. Repeat this 3 times. Inhale, lifting your arms from the sides, raising your heels off the floor, interlocking your fingers and turning your palms up. Pause. As you exhale, release your fingers, bring your arms down slowly, bringing your heels down simultaneously. Pause. Please repeat this 2 more times. For this next asana, Virabhadrasana, it is a sequence. Your focus will be your heart. Please keep your mind on your heart through this. Take 1 big step forward, comfortably, so you're able to come back in that 1 step. As you inhale, open your arms from the sides, bending your front knee forward. Pause. As you exhale, keeping your knee bent, bring your arms together, palms together in front of your heart. As you inhale, interlock your fingers in front of your heart and raise your arms from the front. Pause. As you exhale, unlock your fingers and bring your arms down from by your side, straightening your front leg. You will repeat this 3 times. I will talk you through the first one. Please take a step so that you're comfortable, but yet able to come back in 1 step. As you inhale, bending your front knee, open your arms to the sides above. Yes. Pause. As you exhale, bring your arms so that your palms are touching one another in front of your heart. Inhale, interlocking your fingers there, turning your palms out and taking your arms above. As you exhale, bring your arms down, straightening your front knee. Please repeat this 2 more times on this side and then 3 times with the other leg. Please remember to keep your focus on your heart. Please stand and take 2 breaths. Listen to your body. See what it is saying to you. The next asana is a kneeling sequence. Shipra will demonstrate this to you first. For those who would prefer and feel more comfortable, you may do a forward bend instead. Shipra will demonstrate that too. But please watch both of them before you see and choose which sequence you wish to follow. Please begin by sitting with your hips on your heels. As you inhale, you will go up, stand on your knees, raising your arms above you. As you will exhale, you will bend forward, arms on the floor, hips back on your heels. Inhale and stretch forward, coming up on all fours. Exhale, going back, sitting back on your heels. Inhale, come up. Exhale, bringing your arms down and sitting back on your heels. If you are able to do this, you may try this. You will be repeating this 6 times. Your focus will be on your navel. Optionally, you choose to do a forward bend, which we have done the last couple of sessions. Stand with your feet slightly apart. As you inhale, lift your arms up from the front. As you exhale, bend forward and touch either the floor or your ankles, your calves, your knees, a table in front of you, a chair back, whatever suits you. Inhale, raising your arms to your ears and then straightening up again. Exhale and bring your arms down by your sides. This too will be repeated 6 times. Your focus will be on your navel through the practice. And you may, of course, refer to Shipra in case there is any doubt. So please choose whichever asana you're going to do. Shipra will demonstrate the kneeling sequence. Please sit back on the ground, on your heels, your hips resting on your heels, arms on your thighs. As you inhale, lift your arms and come up on your heels. As you exhale, bend forward, placing your palms on the floor, hips back on your heels. As you inhale, come forward on all fours, lifting your head slightly. As you exhale, sit back on your heels. As you inhale, you will come forward again on all fours. As you exhale, come back and sit on your heels again. Please repeat this 4 more times. Please continue to keep your focus on your navel. When you have finished, please sit down on your chair or on the mat. Close your eyes and please take a few normal breaths, just listening to your body. Just acknowledging whatever it is saying to you. Please, let's get ready now to hear about the 5 dveṣas.
Thank you, Gauri Shukran. Making practice a daily habit. I really love that line. I think this is really the essence of this program, Yoga Sadhana. And practice has to be also defined. Very often when we think of practice, we are looking at the practice of asana or Pranayama or meditation. But the practice of yoga is something that goes beyond what we call the mat, right? It's a practice in daily living, in every aspect of our life. And this is where mindfulness helps to connect the different elements of practice together to bring a certain sense of continuity, of awareness, that you're continuously learning and training your mind to be present more and more here and now. That is all the practice is about. And unless we make it a daily habit, we might start with 20 minutes or half an hour of some practice that we do every day. And slowly, it's like the expanding circles, like the ripples. It has to begin to pervade every aspect of our daily life. So we bring it into looking at how we eat, how we walk, how we engage with people, how we work, in everything trying to bring mindfulness so that there is a continuous thread of awareness. So before I go into the topic for today, which is really looking at what is causing suffering, what is causing dukkha, I wanted to just clarify a few things. Now, when I was listening to what I was sharing last week and the summary Gauri gave today, a couple of things stood out which I wanted to clarify. One is that let us not equate stress to dukkha. Okay, stress is a manifestation of dukkha. Dukkha is much more deeper, it's much more subtle. So inherently, we all have the tendency to experience dukkha, whether we are aware of it or not. And stress is one of the manifestations. We are aware of stress. And the fight, flight, freeze response to stress is the natural way we learn to cope with whatever we are experiencing that we call stress. So in some sense, to learn to go beyond these naming definitions and try to understand what is really happening to us. Okay, that is the exploration. And yoga is called a adhyatma-vidyā. Adhyatma-vidyā means the knowledge of knowing oneself. And knowing oneself is not just knowing the body. It is not just knowing who we are in the world and how we have to be, how we have to behave. It is truly knowing what is behind all this. So the entire exploration of yoga is always to ask what is behind this. From where is this coming? From where is this coming? So you keep on asking yourself that question. And I said it's going behind into yourself. It is not going outward. Because usually our experience of the way we live our life is when I experience dukkha, any form of suffering, of course, I'll ask myself, where is this coming? And point my fingers to something outside, some factor, somebody, right? Some situation that is causing me the dukkha. So it becomes more and more adi bhautika, or we point it up, I don't know, God or some divine intervention that is causing me something. But yoga says, look within, and does not mean that I start blaming myself and beating myself up. It's very, very important. When I say look within, adhyatma vidya is with a certain sense of curiosity. See, what could it be within me that is causing it? Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to clarify. The second thing is, whenever we are talking about yoga, and what we are getting into today is a very serious topic. Okay, we don't need to be serious about it, but it is quite a serious topic. Now, the moment we get into some of these ideas and start understanding what are the deeper causes of dukkha, how are we generating it within ourselves, the tendency is to get into the process of blaming ourselves, falling into the patterns of shame and guilt and all that. That is not what yoga is. The other very important habit pattern that we all have cultivated, and we keep reinforcing it over and over again, is the idea of shoulds and musts. I should be like this, I should not be like this. I must be like this, I must not be like this. Right? You should be like this, you should not be like this. You must be like this, you must not. Just watch that. Just learn to watch your narratives. Okay? Because if I say, if I am able to accept the reality, then I don't have to fight with it. What is the conclusion we come to? I should accept the reality. That's not what we are talking about. Okay? If you turn that around, you say, if I stop fighting with this reality, then acceptance comes. Yeah? But does not mean that I should stop fighting with this reality. All that we are asking is just watch it, just observe it, just listen to yourself. So your practice gives you the ground. It allows the mind to settle down a little bit, go a little deeper within, and observe and listen to whatever is arising without any judgment. Now, again, don't say, I should not judge. Okay? If judgment comes up, just step back and watch it, listen to it. So the ability to observe and listen from a very deep, quiet space comes with practice. And that's why the practice is to become a daily habit. Every day, no Saturday, Sunday holiday. Okay? Every day, until we learn to savor the effect of the practice, and then we allow it to expand. We find more time, we create more space within us so that we can go into that space of practice. It's very, very fundamental to yoga. And as we are making yoga digital, just making it available, it doesn't matter if you're able to not attend it in real time, you can always listen to the recording. I don't know, sometimes the danger of much of this becoming more and more information based is I can simply listen to all this theory and believe that I understand what it means. But yoga says you will not understand anything until you practice. Atha yoga anushasanam. Anushasanam is a key word. That I follow it, I take it, I practice. And it is only through practice. Again, I repeat, it is only through daily, regular practice we will begin to have glimpses of what we are talking about in Yoga Sutra. So, like most people, when I started learning yoga, I was barely 20, 21. And I was studying it like every other subject that I studied in my university. Like I just need to learn it, I need to memorize it, I need to know how to communicate it, write about it, get good marks in my examinations, and I got all that. It took a long time for me to understand that I should No, not should. Okay, I have to internalize it. I have to deeply experience it. I have to see it the way it is playing out in my life. Only then I can be sure that I am understanding it. Yeah. So Anushasana is a key word. So coming back to dukkha. Okay. What I learned very early in my practice is that the practice of yoga actually helps you to suffer less. So my nature was, my prakriti, my constitution is that I can take something, okay, and I can wallow in it for a very long time. So somebody says something that hurts me, maybe just one statement, one word, one glance, whatever that is. But 100,000 times I can repeat it in my mind and suffer to the power, whatever, however long it is. And I'm sure all of us have experiences, and we continue to experience. Oh, how could they say like that? How could they behave like that? I don't deserve it. How did that happen? And I go over it over and over again. And every time I'm suffering the same way, or maybe more, because it is a kind of accumulative experience. It's an accumulated experience. So I keep growing that seed of suffering more and more. It becomes really massive, like a rock sitting in my heart. It suppresses everything. It makes me so much constricted. Like I become so much more individuate. It's me versus the world. Yeah. It impacts my breathing. I'm not able to breathe deep. It causes a lot of pain and discomfort in my body, because whatever I'm accumulating through my thinking process is actually blocking all my channels. My prana is not able to flow. And I am gathering so much of dirt, so much of impurities in this. So when I started practicing every day, it's very simple. I didn't learn Yoga Sutra. Even if I was learning at that point, I didn't understand much of it, but I did my practice. And I can't say that I practiced very regularly in the beginning, but when I understood the value of practice, it became slowly more and more regular. So as I breathed deeply, as I moved into different postures, as I stayed longer in postures, I saw that my breath became deeper. Yeah, my mind became quieter, and my body became more comfortable. I became more comfortable in this body. I began to love this body. I began to really accept it and learn to take care of it better. I learned to eat more consciously. And all of this was not happening overnight. Okay, it took for me, and it's taking for me still several decades of practice to go deeper and deeper to understand how I can learn to suffer less. So what happened over a period of time that I noticed, and this I did not do consciously, is when people said something or behaved in a certain way that hurt me. Of course, I got hurt. I do get hurt. But it doesn't impact me so much. I don't need to wallow in it so much. I can understand it. So I realized that the only way to come out of dukkha is to understand how we are experiencing dukkha. What is really happening to us? If I know how I am creating dukkha for myself, I can do something. As long as I don't know the cause for my dukkha, I continue to wallow in it and expand it and make it like the biggest thing in my life. Yeah, it completely consumes. So I need to know. And that knowing is not intellectual. That's it. It's not intellectual because, of course, I studied all these kleśas and all that very, very early. I really didn't understand it. So it required practice. It required again and again observing myself to understand many of these key ideas that we're going to be presenting to you today. And it will require many, many years of observation, listening, and understanding what is really happening. How am I creating a spiral of suffering? So The way the yogis presented this is like a spiral. That's why the Kundalini is in the form of a spiral. Yeah, I don't want to go into the concept of Kundalini. It's much bigger topic. And again, we can get very consumed with it intellectually. But just to know that it is so easy for us to fall into this trap of cyclical suffering. Cyclical. One leading to the other, that leading to the other, that leading to the other. It says, Ananta Phala, it is like one fruit comes from a certain action, certain experience, that gives another fruit, that gives another fruit. And then before we know, we have consumed all these fruits. All these seeds have started sprouting within us, and they keep us within the cycle of suffering. So I have to know why I'm suffering, and as long as I don't know, I will continue to suffer. Once I begin to explore this, maybe there is a possibility that I can reduce my own suffering, and through that, I can reduce causing pain to the other. We all recognize this. As much as we suffer because of our own actions or others' actions or what is beyond, adhyatmikadi, bhautikadi, daivika, we are also aware that this can end. Okay? And if I know how this can end, then I'm on the path of yoga. I'm empowered. I am not feeling helpless. I'm not a victim anymore. I don't need to carry this victim stories anymore. I don't need to be burdened by this. I don't need to meet the world with so much fear. Oh, will I get hurt? Will I get hurt? We're constantly meeting the world with our shield and sword. We don't need to. We can actually open our heart and receive the world. Of course, once we have learned how to draw our boundaries, and we have to learn to draw these boundaries in a way that we don't let the world hurt us. And we also commit to not hurting people consciously. This is the practice of the yamas, particularly ahimsa, and that which is supported by satya, living, understanding and living the truth. So, how do we suffer? Why do we suffer? That's the question. Yeah. Let us say I have an experience. I don't want to start with dukkam. Let me start with sukham. Okay. I have an experience that makes me really happy. Okay. So somebody says something, I'm praised, I'm acknowledged, I'm affirmed. And there is a sense of expansiveness within my heart, what I call sukham. Okay, I feel that expanse. Beautiful experience, happiness, joy. We all want to be there. Yeah. The problem is we are happy being happy. But then what happens? Something within us says, let me hold on to this. Okay, I want this. I want more of this. I want more and more of this. A little seed has sprouted within us that says, let me have more of this, because this is keeping me happy. Yeah, I'm feeling lightness, my breath is flowing beautifully, I'm more loving, I can be more generous, all beautiful things. The whole world looks beautiful. It is when you are in love, and all of us experience being in love, right? We have experience, we continue to experience. What is that experience? Everything is beautiful. Right? But then internally, we want to hold on to that experience. That the yogis called rāga. Rāga means I want to be happy all the time. So there is a tendency, there is an energy within me that is seeking happiness, and it is attached to that happiness. It wants more and more of it. It cannot be without it. So it is looking for it. It is holding on to all those objects that we think is making us happy. So we objectify rāga. Okay, we externalize it and say, oh, that person is making me very happy. That student is really adoring and admiring me. let me have that student. And I hope that student will continue to adore and admire me. Okay. I hope this friend will only see what is beautiful in me. Okay. Rāga. Now, what happens with rāga is, if I don't get enough of it, if that does not continue, if that does not persist, then I begin to suffer. Even as I'm experiencing it, there is an underlying fear. Will it go away? Will I not have enough of it? And then, of course, it changes. So this happens a lot in relationships. For example, we are so much attached to each other. We are so loving. We are so caring. And then suddenly something snaps. We become separate. Okay, that's you and that's me. It's not you and me. It is you and me. So we start moving away. That's called dveṣa. Dva means two. One has become two. Yeah. Dveṣa is, this is causing me pain. This is causing me dukkham. Let me move away from it. So whenever I experience dukkham, I'm moving away. I can move away by fighting with that reality. I can move away by running away from it, or I can block it. And I can do all the three in different ways. And I've learned it. We do it in very sophisticated ways. Dveṣa. Okay, aversion. So any experience of pain, any experience of dukkham, or expectation of dukkham causes dveṣa. Now, interestingly, rāga and dveṣa are also learned experiences. It may not be my own experience. Okay? And more of dveṣa. So a lot of prejudices that we develop very early in our life are based on dveṣa. They're expressions of dveṣa. So if I am told that, if you get closer to that person or these kind of people or people with that color of the skin, whatever, that's going to cause you pain. That's going to harm you. So I developed that dveṣa. And I'm not aware that I've already developed it. Yeah. So rāga is whoever is like me, then I like them. Whoever is unlike me, I don't like them. What is this like me, unlike me? I'm not aware of it, but I've developed that very deep within me. So all the violence, all the prejudices, everything that arises and continues to, bother all of us and the larger world are based on these two fundamental energies that we have within us. We are born with it and we don't even know from where it comes. Avidyā is anadi. The source of this is anadi, which means it has no beginning. So we are already born with these seeds, and the earliest life experiences allow these seeds to sprout. Okay. So rāga dveṣa has to be understood at a very basic level in the way we function in the world. I can always look at what are the things that I'm attached to. Who are the people I'm attached to? Okay. I can say I'm attached to my water bottle, my laptop. I'm attached to some of my clothes, some jewelry, my house. Yeah, if I have small children coming home, if they're coming to somebody else's house and scribbling on the wall, I don't really care much. But if they're scribbling on my wall, I really care because it is my wall, right? That is my rāga. And then people, of course, people who really define who we are, people closest to us, we are so attached to them. And we are so attached that we cause them a lot of pain. Okay, it does not mean that because I have rāga on people, I will only give them sukham. I can give them a lot of dukkha with my own anxiety because I want them to be healthy. I want them to be happy. I want them to do the right thing. I want them to affirm me all the time. So rāga. And then the rāga about myself, who I am in this world. I'm so attached to being seen in a particular way. Okay. And I keep on reinforcing that form of me, right? Dveṣa is just the other side of the same coin. Like I said, raga is this, dveṣa is this. Okay, it is same. It's the same energy, just turned around. So dveṣa is everything that I try to avoid, I want to be away from, that causes me dukkha. And there is an element of raga in dveṣa. I'm so attached to it that I don't want. I think about what I don't want more than what I want. Is it true or not? Okay. Every time we say, I don't want to fall sick. I don't want to become dependent on people as I grow older. I don't want to ever experience this again. We always use the narrative, I don't want, rather than actually saying, I want. Okay, so dveṣa is much, much stronger because dukkham is very strong. Sukham, often we can even override it. Yeah, it's a much more, I think, a superficial experience. Dukkham is a very deep experience. So that I don't want is a very strong narrative. And that comes from dveṣa. And again, dveṣa to things, towards people, which is really big. So anybody who has caused me pain and I have not learned to resolve it, I have not understood it enough, I have developed dveṣa. I have drawn my boundaries. I have built my walls. Yeah. So the more and more people I eliminate from my life, more and more experiences I try to, block myself away from, I know that I'm living this dveṣa over and over again. Then dveṣa towards myself, that form of me, those parts of me that I'm ashamed of, that I'm not very happy about. Dveṣa. I don't want to see it. I don't want anybody to see it. So raga and dveṣa are two fundamental energies that drive all our experiences, all our actions and responses in life. And this has to be observed and understood. So if I begin to see the raga and dveṣa playing out in my life, in all probability, I can start understanding yoga, the importance of yoga, because every experience of raga and dveṣa, because that's all we experience all the time in our life, is leaving behind residues in my body, in my psyche. And the psyche is not just the mind, it is the whole being, right? Every part of my being is gathering these residues. So my channels, the nadis, are blocked by these experiences. Over a period of time, they become illness. And then what do? We treat illness with medicine, with some external intervention, which may be important. But we have not learned to quell that seed, which is regenerating that experience for us over and over again. So I have to cleanse my body of these tendencies. I have to reduce them. I have to weaken them. And eventually, through meditation, I can burn these seeds. And I can free my prana and let it flow. So everyday practice of asana and pranayama primarily help me to cleanse my system of everything that I'm gathering and accumulating. So you see the value of why practice is important, why working with the body is important, because at a gross level, we are, of course, removing the impurities and the waste from the body through breathing, through the eliminatory process, better digestion, whatever. Okay. But we are also able to remove, reduce the more subtle impurities that we carry within us. I mentioned to you right in the first session, yoga is a samskara. It is a process of cleaning the vessel. So that cleaning the vessel happens through the right practice of asana and pranayama. And the cleaning the vessel is cleaning the accumulated raga and dveṣa. Okay. So every day we have to be able to do this so that when these are less and they're not so potent, they're not so overpowering, we can actually look at them and deal with them, clean them out. If they become overpowering, then it is very hard. They consume us and then they take you. So we'll go back to the practice again. We're going to be doing a similar practice today, but really pay attention to your breath, pay attention to your body. Do this with a lot of love and compassion towards your body, towards yourself. Just say, I'm cleaning out, I'm just cleaning the vessel, and there's nothing more to do. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you, Saras. Shipra will demonstrate this time. We're actually going to do a simpler practice, meaning, please watch her. We will be repeating this sequence 3 times, but we will be doing the sequence in completion. And in every posture, we will be staying for a breath. Like before, please simply watch Shipra do this once through, and I will walk you through the next one, and you will do it twice on your own. So you will repeat it 3 times. But in every posture, we will stay for a breath. It is a kneeling sequence, and for those who find it better for their bodies and that they are able to pay better attention to themselves, please use the Uttanasana. You begin by sitting on your heels, palms on your thighs. Please just watch Shipra this time, and you can repeat it the next 3 times. As you inhale, you will come up on your knees, arms overhead. Exhale and inhale over here. On the next exhale, you will bend forward, arms on the floor, hips on your heels. Inhale and exhale in this posture. On the next inhale, you will come up on all your 4s, head slightly turned up. You will exhale and inhale in this posture. You will, on your next exhale, you will go back, placing your hips back on your heels, forehead on the floor. Inhale and exhale over here. On the next inhale, you will come up on your knees, arms overhead. Exhale and inhale over here. On the next exhale, you will sit back on your heels, arms on your thighs. This will be the kneeling sequence. So you will stay for a breath in each. Shipra, if you could just show them how you will do the Uttanasana. Stand with your feet gently apart. Inhale and lift your arms from the front, straight above. Exhale and inhale over here. On your next exhale, you would bend forward and place your arms where you feel the posture, but it's comfortable. Inhale and exhale over here. On the next inhale, you will come up, arms leading the movement, with your arms overhead. Exhale and inhale over here. And on the exhale, you will bring your arms down by your side. We will do this 3 times now. I will walk you through it once. Shipra will do the kneeling sequence. Please remember, in every posture, you will stay for 1 breath. Begin with your palms on your thighs, hips on your heels. As you inhale, you will come up on your heels. Exhale and inhale in this posture. On your next exhale, please go down forward, palms on the floor, hips on your heels. Inhale and exhale over here. On your next inhale, please come up on all your fours. Exhale and inhale in this posture. On the next exhale, sit back on your heels, leaving your arms on the ground. Inhale and exhale here. On the next inhale, come up on your knees, arms straight above. Exhale and inhale in this posture. On the next exhale, please sit back on your heels, palms on your thighs. Please repeat this 2 more times at your pace, remembering to stay for a breath in each posture. Please use Shipra, who's spotlighted for all of us, in case you need a reference. When you are finished, please sit down comfortably, either on your mat or on a chair and get ready for our pranayama practice. Please just take some normal breaths, quietly listening to your body. Allowing yourself to relax. Shipra will show us the pranayama that we will be using. We will be using Sitkari on the inhale and Brahmari on the exhale. You keep your lips as though you're smiling. Your teeth are together gently, and bring your neck head down a little bit. And as you inhale, slowly raising your head, suck in the air from between your teeth. It will make a gentle hissing kind of sound. As you exhale, close your lips and hum to yourself as you bring your head back down again. Shipra, is your camera on mute? Could you do this one more time so that they can hear you? You will inhale from between your teeth, allowing the air to be sucked in. It will be cool. And as you exhale, you will hum as you breathe. You will do this 9 times. On the inhale, please ensure that as you are inhaling, your spine straightens up. For the first 3 times, you will focus on your navel. For the next 3 breaths, you will focus on your heart. And for the last 3 breaths, you will focus on your throat. So please begin your practice, inhaling with Sitkari, exhaling with Brahmari, breathing in through your teeth and humming as you are exhaling. When you are done, please remain seated with your eyes closed, breathing normally, simply staying with the peace inside you. And when you are ready, please share, if you wish, in the chat box, and we will open for question and answers thereafter.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Claudia, it feels like you're my neighbor now. We are meeting every 2 hours.
I feel a bit tired, not because of you, but we went to the theater last evening. I took hours and hours, and I was so exhausted. I came to bed, and I think this is still a bit in my
But
mind.
I just saw you in Shriram session, right? Okay.
Yes, yes. However, I noticed my ability to speak was quite impaired from not having slept enough or something like that. To observe that the ability to listen, it's okay, but to speak out, it was exhausting. Yeah.
I was like that for almost a week. So jet lagged. I didn't know what I was saying.
Yeah. Just to observe the abilities of chitta or the mind to be impaired by something like that is surprising.
It's quite scary to observe the chitta vritti. And when you really observe, you wonder, oh, is it so bad? Has it been so bad all the time? Like so many coming in and going out. And still we manage to function as human beings in this world and do everything that we are doing. It's amazing. And even a little bit of improvement in that state of mind, imagine who we could be for ourselves and for this world. So we are looking at this as a kind of a community space, no? Like in real time, if we are all meeting in person for a retreat or just coming together, sitting together and talking about what's really happening. How are we internalizing these teachings and what is really happening to us? Don't have to share anything profound. the real essence lies in the mundane daily living, daily transactions, daily thinking processes. Those are not profound. So I would really invite all of you to share and ask and just share your reflections, because it is going to help all of us to learn.
Well, another observation this morning was that I got angry without any obvious reason. I observed that, okay, and I started to breathe, but it didn't help. Sort of exaggerated, and my poor husband got the echo. Well, but it was a bit anxiety because I couldn't control this getting more and more angry.
Yeah. And I think the starting point is just to be aware of it, not to control it, not to push it down, not to fix it, but simply just observe, just be aware. So we know where it is taking us, or even probably sometimes in retrospect, we may be able to see where it's coming from or where it came from. Maybe in that moment, like in Sankhya, they say, no, sometimes when something is very overpowering, you can't see it. You don't have clarity about it. Abhibhavat, yeah. Sweating through the asanas, where are you, Dina? Which part of the world?
I'm from Mauritius. My living pranam to you, Guru. Yes.
Is it very hot there?
Yes.
Yeah, so it could be. And what time of the day?
Yes, it's about nearly 6 o'clock here.
6 o'clock.
No. It's in the evening. 6 o'clock in the evening.
It's PM. And is it still hot?
Yes.
So I'm wondering, because when we work with the breath, suppose you are trying to hold your breath for too long, particularly after inhalation, it can increase heat in the body, and that can cause sweating. So in the practice, I don't think there was actually any instruction to hold your breath after inhalation, unless you were trying to move very slowly. Probably if you're moving very slowly, your breath ends at a point and then you continue to move without breathing. So the suggestion will be that you keep your movement within the breath. So you are not holding your breath. You can pause for a couple of seconds, but you don't hold the breath. So typically when, for example, I do my pranayama, and if I'm holding my breath after inhalation, just after the 5th breath, my whole body heats up and I start sweating. Now, that is also depending on my starting point, my constitution. So if I have a more of the heaty constitution, and then I'm also trying to hold my breath after inhalation, irrespective of the external temperature, my body can heat up. So I was in a very cold place last week. And every time I'm halfway through pranayama, my body heats up. So I don't need the heater anymore. But I need to be careful, because if I allow my body to heat too much, like Claudia says, I can actually have a temper outburst also, you know. You have to just,
thank you.
What my suggestion will be, don't hold your breath after inhalation. Do your movement within the breath. Comfortably, you're able to move within the breath. So you inhale, start inhaling, start moving. You finish your movement, you should still have a little bit of your inhalation left. without force, without control. Then you pause comfortably and then you exhale longer than the inhalation. Okay? So that will cool down.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong in sweating, but the practice was not meant to, I don't think it was such a rigorous practice to cause that. So probably you were holding it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Guru.
Because it's PM, I don't want you to lose your sleep as well.
I can share.
Saraswati? Okay.
Yes. Yes, Catherine.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to share how much I appreciate this program. I met you, Saraswati, in Toronto in 2012 or 2013 or 14
Wow.
or something.
Okay.
At Dante's. And I guess I just wanted to share that it's really been great to have like a structured program to bring me back to some of the basics, because I am a certified yoga therapist in this tradition, but I've recognized that I have huge gaps because my initial training did not come from this tradition. I live in Canada, so in the way that we've talked, I think in the first course you're talking about, there's all these different yoga programs and people accumulate workshops and things. So I think I just got lost a little bit. And on the topic of the kleśas, I've recognized how the rāga can even show up in my practice. Like I get on the mat and already before I start my practice, there's an attachment to a certain feeling that I want the outcome of my practice to be. And with that, and I guess I'm just realizing that like that's an obstacle in the practice in itself, because if I don't get to, if my mind has this craving for this intense asana of building stretch and craving stretch and strength, and that takes an hour and a half to get there, but I only have 20 minutes, then I miss out on the practice because I'm seeking something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just, I think there's lots going on for me as I'm coming back to just the deep subtleties of what the practice has to offer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just yesterday we were in another session on Yoga Sutra where one of my teachers, he was sharing how to shift from that orientation of being attached to an outcome in all our actions. Particularly on the path of yoga, when we start looking for results, and then sometimes we experience some extraordinary feeling or something happens in the practice, then that memory makes us more attached to that. I want that, I want to go back to that, I want more of that, whatever. So he said, can you connect to the yearning within you, not for the experience, but for what you're aspiring, what is the direction you're moving towards? Can you connect to the yearning and keep that as your guiding light? Which is very different from looking for a result. So it's just a shift in perspective, actually. And that can hugely change the way we experience the practice. Because then you just enjoy it. Because in that moment, you are already there. Right?
Yeah, thank you.
Nahid, you have a long message. Okay, I'm going to read it out. One of the reasons I had started to practice yoga was to be aware of my body and to define myself with my body. But I'm still so attached to my body. If I gain weight, I'm so depressed to lose excess weight. When I'm in shape, people praise me for, so I'm so happy and proud of myself. How can I drop this tendency? I have so much rāga in how I look and dress, and so attached to food. Most of the time I eat without awareness and overeating. I feel so regret when I eat so much or some particular foods like non-vegetarian food, chocolates and fried food. How can I drop it with ease and eat just what my body needs and drop rāga? It's a universal story. I think all of us experience it. So you're not alone. So relax. Okay. This is really our starting point with the practice. Why is asana important? Because asana helps us to connect with our body and deeply listen to our body. Okay. Understand the body. So when you really every day you do your asana, I'm hoping that you're not changing your practice too often or every day, because the asana is only a reference. So let's say I do Paschimottanasana every day, like the seated forward bend. And I do, like say, I'm able to stay for 5 minutes in the posture. It gives me a sense of how my body is that day. And that posture is like a mirror for me to look at my body without looking at a mirror. I'm able to see how light my abdomen is, how deep my breath is, how much I'm able to stretch, how quiet I can be, how comfortable I can be in that posture, right? And every day it is changing. So as I stay in that same posture every day, I connect to the changing nature of my body. So just to connect with the changing nature of nature, which my body is part of. Whenever we talk about nature, we talk about trees and plants and rivers and mountains, but this body is nature, right? So how do you connect to that nature and be in touch with its changing aspect? So as you connect to that, then whatever changes happen with it, of course, if the change is positive, like you lose weight, you look great, people are praising you, and then you feel great, and then we gain weight and we feel miserable about it. So that whole rāga dveṣa, just watch it. Okay, for now, just begin to watch it. And just watching it from a quieter space, not from a space of judgment, beating oneself up and saying, I should not have this, I should not be like this. But rather just say, look at it with great curiosity. Okay. At the same time, also be aware of its changing nature. That whether we like it or not, it is changing. We are growing older, things are changing, right? As you get in touch with that more and more deeply, something will begin to shift. Something will begin to change. When the mind becomes quieter, you can actually see what you're seeing from a different perspective. And that can change the way you relate to your body, you relate to food, etc. Okay. What Yoga Sutra says is vairagya, which is to give up something because it is not good for you. That vairagya can only develop when you see that object. For example, let's say you love chocolate. You see that object, and even if you are indulging in it, you see it and say, this has, it's not that object has a fault. Chocolate is a chocolate. Yeah, it can give you great pleasure and joy. But this is not probably good for me in too much of quantity. Maybe one small piece I can take and I can happily eat it, enjoy it. Yeah, really enjoy it. But suppose I'm taking a whole bar of it, then maybe it is not so. So we have to learn to see that this is not good. And every time you indulge, tell yourself this is not so good. Slowly over a period of time, you will learn to find that balance. It's almost like the fruit, you keep looking at something, the fruit will ripen with that heat with which you look at it. And then it will fall away. So I'm giving you the example from my own experience. I'm very attached to my morning tea. Okay, for years together, before thinking of meditation, I'll think of tea. And I have to have this tea and then I can meditate. So, and every time I started having the tea, I realized it was that caffeine that is making me alert and not my meditation. Okay. So then I started having this tea and said, yeah, this, I love it, but it is not really helping me so much. I love it, but it is not really helping me so much. And slowly I'm able to now not have that morning cup. I can have the first 4 hours of my day go by, maybe the entire morning go by without actually having it. So there is a craving at the back of my mind that I don't need to indulge it. Okay. But there are times when I just have to have my tea and I will have it. I don't have a problem with it. But I need to have that control over it. That should not control me. And that has taken a long time. And that has taken some effort. It doesn't just happen naturally. So it is my relationship with that. It's like a love-hate relationship. So I have to actually look at it and say, yes, this probably I don't need to be attached to this much. That should not control me, right? So it will change, don't worry. When your state of mind changes, everything will change. The way you look at something will change. But right now, just observe. There's nothing right or wrong about all this. We are attached to the body, obviously.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, Saraswati. Good evening, Gauri. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so reflection and probably a question. So I've noticed that as I've gone through the few years of practice and started to understand there's good and bad in every situation, there's night and day, like there's yin and yang. I find that sometimes it can make me indecisive when it comes to a point that I have to probably make a very big decision, life decision. It's sometimes I think, okay, I want this is more, but then maybe I should be. Now I know you said don't use the word should, but I shouldn't be wanting. Why can't I be here and just be accepting and happy of this situation? Is that normal? Do you maybe find that happens? Because I feel that with practice I should be able to. I know I'm still using the word should, but it should give me clarity of thought and help me get decisive. So there are times when, as much as I'm trying to be regular with my practice, initial years of practice, I gave asana practice importance. And later I found that even if it meant not going to my teacher for class and stopping that, and so that I could do my own and give my own amount of time to asana, pranayama, and meditation, it did help me to a certain extent, but I still find this indecisiveness a lot, because I always try to weigh both sides, the good and bad of every situation, and then I find now I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Actually, in yoga, there's nothing like good or bad. See, the way we are defining good or bad is what is good is what will give me sukham. What is bad is what will give me dukkham. So in some sense, it's our rāga dveṣa camouflaged as good and bad. Okay? Because I want to do the right thing. So the right and wrong here. I want to do the right thing because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to be seen as making a mistake. I don't want to fail. I don't want to lose. I don't want to experience pain. Right? So the indecisiveness comes when we are not sure what to choose. Because if I choose this, what if it is not the right choice? What if I had made a mistake? Right? So I want to be sure that I'm doing the right thing. So then we become very indecisive. Sometimes, we make big decisions very quickly. Small decisions, we are wavering a lot. Now, this wavering nature of the mind itself is a state of mind. It's that oscillating mind. We could be more in the kshipta, when we're talking about like a monkey mind. Or it could be mind that it's not so much of tamas, because tamas is like, I don't take the next step. I'll postpone. I will avoid deciding. Yeah, because sometimes I want somebody else to decide. Because I don't want to take the decision and I don't want to be blamed for it. Right? Or I am wavering, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? It's a state of mind. That's all. Right? But all that yoga is saying is, whatever decisions you make, whatever actions you do, if they are coming from ávidyā, if they are coming from rāga, dveṣa, there will invariably be a payoff and a price. We can never do only the right thing or only the wrong thing. It's actually a mixture. So if I do an action and there is a result, I have to take responsibility. So then the question is, am I willing to take responsibility for the choices I make? Yeah. And also really question this whole idea of right and wrong, good and bad. There's nothing like that. It is what labels we give it. Of course, we say good people, bad people, people doing good deeds, people doing bad deeds. I'm not talking about that, right? We are actually talking about our actions and how we are not sure about what is the right thing and what is not the right. So then it is a gray area, really, because it might be right in one context, it might not be right in another context. It's the whole question of dharma, actually. Dharma is not so simple to decide, to define. So it is the right action at the right time, done in the right manner. So the same action in another context, at another time, may be a wrong action. And done by somebody else may be a wrong action. So it's a very complex thing. But all that I can say is, the indecisiveness comes from fear of committing a mistake, of being seen as committing a mistake. And probably that's coming from our childhood experience, being reprimanded for doing something wrong and being affirmed for doing something right. If you're always seen as a good girl, nice girl, you grew up like that, you don't want to be not nice. So there is that fear, and that fear is playing out in so many ways. I don't want to decide. So I have a friend, who will ask me 100 questions. So she'll take something, she'll say, should I put it here? Should I put it? Everything, it's common sense sometimes. So I tell her, why can't you decide? No, I don't want to make a mistake. So what if you make a mistake? No, you'll be angry with me. So what if I'm angry with you? I will be hurt. That's it. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to experience dukkha. So that is it. We will talk about it in the next session.
So you're saying that so I do recognize this, that there's no right and wrong, but that's what makes it more difficult to decide. So you're saying the right way to look at it is ask yourself what fear it is, and also to be ready for the responsibility of whatever action I take.
See, sometimes we just act, right? We have to make a decision, we act. And it might turn out not to be the appropriate action. You learn from that. The next time, apply what you have learned. Sometimes we commit the same mistake over and over again. We still don't learn. We carry the hurt, but we don't learn. But there is always something to learn. Even something that gives a positive result, there's still something to learn from. I could have done better. 10 people will be happy out of my action, but there may be 2 people who are suffering because of that action. I also have to pay attention to that. So much of happiness, with our acquisitiveness, But what are we doing to the earth? In every action, we have to be able to see all of that.
Thank you.
Actually, I wanted to say something.
Yes, sir.
That same action that's, I was just thinking when you were saying, you can choose to behave in a certain way, and the manner in which you respond may be, to use common parlance, the right way or the wrong way. Yeah. The next time you may use that particular incident to repeat the behavior, and the result may be completely different. So each time, because you are changing, the space around you is changing, the required response may also change. So you cannot use anything as a blueprint into perpetuity. That's why we have to be mindful and aware at this moment for who I am and what the situation is. What is the right way for me to respond? I'm using the word right again.
Yeah, there is some rightness around it. I mean, that's the word we have in English, right? But it is appropriate. I think that is a better word.
Okay. And I wanted to say something to Nahid. You know, I read what you had written, and you said you wanted to drop it with ease. I don't think there's any ease in this. It's you're struggling. You know, you have to constantly remind yourself. And for me personally, I feel that a sangha, a group of people, really helps me to come back to what I learn. And the experience, you know, like let's say we've had this conversation and tomorrow I do something which triggers that same annoyance or guilt. But the memory that we did have this conversation and that there is another way to look at it helps me to cut that space short. That response that I'm giving of anger at myself, I can say, you know what? We just spoke about it and it happens. It's okay. So having a supportive group or community with you makes life flow better. I wouldn't say it makes it easier, but you're able to be more forgiving and kinder to yourself. So, and like Sarah said, every one of us struggles with this, okay? What's the first thing we do in the morning when we get up is to look at ourselves in the mirror. You go to brush your teeth, you don't go for the toothbrush, right? You first look in the mirror. Okay, Claudia, not you. It's so natural, it's so normal to do that. Laura, you wanted to say something.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much. I'm learning so much from all of this. It was more like a conclusion or an end-up reflection. I was about to say to Saraswati, if we say rāga is attachment and dveṣa is reject to something. So it's like attachment and rejection. And I think we are practicing yoga and mindfulness and meditation and everything to become more equanimous and less attached, or, you know, less hatred to the things we are living outside and inside. So can we like sum up this? Two words are new for me, you know, rāga and dveṣa. It's like attachment and rejection. Is that okay? Is that right? Or I'm simplifying it too much?
I would actually be a little cautious about using an English word to substitute rāga and dveṣa, because the word attachment itself can have a different connotation. Like, for example, in psychology, we have the attachment theory, just entirely talking about a different thing. Okay, so I would rather not use a word, but just understand raga as a tendency within you, which is seeking happiness, which is seeking pleasure, which wants to be comfortable all the time. That is the name, that is raga. Okay, there's a tendency in us to want to avoid something that will cause me pain. That is dveṣa. So go back to the original definition, then give an English word to it. So if you are German or French, you may have a word in your language which may be closer to it. You may have a phrase in your language which may be closer to Sanskrit. But sometimes English sort of oversimplifies it. And then we are only talking about attachment, rejection. And that may have a completely different connotation. So the idea is I should be able to recognize that feeling, that tendency within me. That is why the name is.
So as I understand, it's more like a tendency to seek happiness and feeling well all the time in one side, and a tendency to avoid dukkha, to avoid hurting myself or to avoid feeling bad.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
And you wanted to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm French, living in India and trying to practice yoga, I've been confronted more and more often to the Sanskrit. I'm quite aware Sanskrit is a very rich language, and one word cannot be translated by either an English word or but one word in Sanskrit cannot be translated by one word in another language. So I'm trying to read and from different sources, sometimes from French books, sometimes from whatever I can find. And I'm looking for the feeling actually. And that helped me a lot. The feeling, the guess. Sometimes I'm wrong, but then I continue talking, meeting people, hearing other things, and I can slightly correct. But looking for the feeling is much more accurate for me, because Sanskrit is so rich. It can mislead. He had misled me in the past many times. So looking for diversify the sources. That's from what I've learned from my personal experience.
There's one more thing I want to add about the language. Is in Sanskrit, all words are verbs. They're not nouns. They're not a thing. It's a verb. Okay, it's an action. It has a certain action potential and it is changing. So when we learn, you are only using the language as a way to understand what the text is saying from where you are in your context. So it's a kind of layered learning. So every time you discover a deeper layer, you discover another layer, another perspective. So it is not like one word means this, this, this. You can have 3 synonyms. But for you, it will mean something else. Like today, I discover I'm very attached to, say, my yoga mat. Just giving you a very mundane example. But tomorrow, I might be very attached to my comfort that my yoga mat gives me. Okay. And I'm very attached to that it is my mat, so I can be sure that it is hygienic for me. That I will not fall sick or it will not cause any problems to me, right? Or it is so light to carry, I can take it anywhere I want when I'm traveling. There are many, many things that make me attached to that mat. And all of that, I don't want to fall sick. I want it to be clean. I want it to be light weight. And I want it to be mine. all that is part of raga, right? So it's all attachment to my own body, actually. Attachment to the comfort it gives, attachment to the safety it gives, or whatever. So we start with the mat, finally we come to a body. Every time I studied Yoga Sutra, the same words will give me a different meaning. It's not that the previous meaning was wrong, but it just unraveled another layer for me to understand. So it takes many years of going over it over and over and over again. Each time you are a different person, you're in a different context. So you learn something about yourself which is very different from what you knew before. I mean, for all of us, the reason why we love to come back and sit in a Yoga Sutra session is that, oh, I'm learning something new about myself today. Yeah, and I can work with it to make myself a better person, to cleanse myself of what is not helping me, to unburden myself.
Can I just ask a question regarding that on the same line of thought? So when the process of swadhyaya, when I'm sitting and reflecting and trying to understand myself, how do I develop that witness-like attitude or a third-party attitude? Because generally when I try to try to initiate the process of swadhyaya, I end up judging myself a lot. And most of it is negative judgment. Most of those are really, really dark, bad judgments. This is wrong with me. This is how I should have acted. Why am I like this? Why can't I change myself? But is that, then I wonder, is that the real purpose of my whole practice? Because that is ending me up with even more stress. So I end up in a worse situation than what I started with. So how can I develop that? What is the right way to do swadhyaya, if there is one?
So that is not swadhyaya. First of all, to know that self-analysis, self-judgment, self-flagellation is not swadhyaya. Swa-adhyaya means I move inward. I'm moving towards my true nature. That is swadhyaya. Ayanam is to move. Okay, swa is the self. So, having said that, what is the practice? Okay, the text says swadhyaya is you chant the text. So, suppose I chant the Yoga Sutra. Okay, I learn to chant it. The words and the meanings, all this come together for me as I'm chanting. At the end of my chanting, my mind becomes quiet. The mind is quiet. See what comes. See what is it reflecting. Don't try to open it and tear it apart and try to analyze, but simply sit quietly. You know, it's like when the water settles down, the mud goes down, then it can reflect to you. But if I'm constantly churning, trying to understand what is happening, then I'm not getting it. Yeah. So this is a very important question that you're asking, Rupali, because most of the time, most of the people think swadhyaya is about self-analysis. It is not. Okay, it is simply observing from a deep space. It's simply the ability to reflect with a quiet mind. So it requires practice and chanting or study, like right now what we're doing. Okay, is swadhyaya. Because as you're listening to me, as I'm listening to you, there is a certain awareness, right? There's a certain understanding that's coming. Maybe it's coming. Just that. That's all is swadhyaya. So even a conversation, a meaningful, rich conversation you can have with a friend is swadhyaya. You sometimes in nature, you're walking in nature, your mind is very relaxed and quiet. You may have a better understanding of yourself.
I am really making an effort to understand and take in what you are telling me, but most of the times I felt that it's a very tumultuous process, the entire process. What I'm doing on the mat, the asana practice is so easy. It's so, yes, it brings calm, it helps me connect with my body. But when I try to take my practice a bit deeper and start thinking, there's a lot of judgment. Like as Nahid mentioned, even the body image, that part, as women, we face it. So it's so common for us to, I'm talking about myself over here, maybe I'm rambling, but we are going through premenopause, body is changing. Why is it so difficult for us to just accept it without judging ourselves and without telling ourselves, oh, I need to go for another workout, I need to train more, or I need to get more supplements or seek something from outside when there's something that's very natural that's happening with me. And then I keep on judging myself. Oh, my hair is turning like this, or like there is such a lot of judgment that goes in my head at times whenever I try to introspect or think about myself, just myself. Who exactly am I, or what am I wanting to be, that then I shut it down. I shut the entire process and I just go to my mat, do my asana, do my pranayama, and I think, okay, I'm done. This is what I want from life. If this is what is going to keep me at a certain level of calm so that I can operate in life and be nice to the family around me without getting into all of this questioning, then this is what it should be for me. But then I know yoga is not just that. Yoga is not just doing 6 asanas, half an hour in the morning and saying that, oh, wow, I'm done, I'm a yogi now. So I'm still confused about how I'm placing myself in this journey. That's my question. Maybe it's just me, but I'm still at that confusing part. I need help. I don't know.
So the voice of the judge is very strong in everyone. Okay. First is to understand that is normal, that we have a strong judge within us, and we have really fed that judge. It's very, very strong voice. So yoga is about really meeting the reality as it is. So can you listen to the voice of the judge as a starting point? Just do one practice. Every time the judge comes up, listen to your judge as a friend. So how would a friend listen to the judge, listen to that voice? Oh, really? Do you really think so? Okay. So the friend is not a judge. The friend is simply accepting of the judge and just saying, okay, tell me more. So you are bringing a different voice there. Okay. That will change that relationship. But this requires some amount of quietness. That's what your practice is meant to give. So the asana pranayama has to help us to get into a quiet space. And I tell you, Rupali, this is not like magic. It's not like I do my practice for 5 years, 10 years, and suddenly the judge vanishes. It's never going to happen. Yeah. All that we have to learn is to befriend the judge. Make the judge your friend. The whole equation will change. Try it next time. I'm not going to tell you how. It's not a technique. Okay, it's a process. Because there is something behind the judge, the voice of the judge. It's an anxiety of being something in the world and having to be something in the world. This is what we are getting to, the kleśas. Rāga, dveṣa, we have to go deeper. There's more. The voice of the judge is just an expression of that. But if we shut it down, we are not learning anything. So, next time the judge becomes loud, you listen to the judge as a friend and see what comes.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we close? We've gone way past the time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Vishnu, for your patience.